very warm welcome to today's Ahead of the Game event here from Laps. My name is Gail Ems. I was a badminton player. So anyone played badminton before? Yeah? Yeah, we've all played over the washing line in the back garden, haven't we? Yeah, well that was my sport. I represented Great Britain in 2 Olympic Games. I got a silver medal in 2004 Athens Olympics. And I retired after the Beijing Olympics in 2008. The reason why I'm here today is because I'm a passionate believer in not only being awesome athletes that you are, but to say that it's not all about your sport. It's to start you thinking about who you are, what interests you, what excites you, because eventually one day that sporting journey will finish. But we're going to keep it on a very, very positive note, because that is what Laps is all about. So thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot to us, because a lot of us at Laps really, really believe in this. And thank you to every single person at the back of the room here on the stands. We've got loads of people here. I've got a whole list, but I know you guys are going to have a look around and see and just talk and network, because that is what is so important. We've also got another room over there. The Julie's restaurant is also full of exciting stands as well. And we've even got a magician here today. Where's Jamie? I've lost Jamie. Jamie, shout. Right, he's that good, he's made himself disappear. Ha bum bum. So we have got a magician around, so just for your entertainment as well. Today is about fun, it's about learning, and also about 3 very exciting speakers that we've got for you today. Now we did have Kelly Massey, who was going to be first up. Now I went skiing with Kelly. Now Kelly is a 400 metre runner. I'm not saying that badminton is more hardcore than athletics, but basically, she's ill, I'm here, what can I say? So we have got another speaker. We've got Stevie Ward, who's going to be next up. He is awesome. Please do listen. He's got a fantastic story for us. We've also got Mohammed, who's here at the front. He's going to tell us all about his company and his business. And finally, we've got Chris Pritchard, who is a former track cyclist, telling us all about his journey. So, lots and lots to fit in. Please ask questions as well. So our speakers are going to be up here on the stage. They're going to do their little bit, and then afterwards there's a chance to ask questions. So please do anything that you want to, sort of get the insight about. Then that is your chance to do as well. So our first speaker. Any rugby league fans here? Oh, you're supposed to say yes. Okay, just say yes. But I'm a southerner, so I'm rugby union down south. But I have to say a rugby league fan now. So Stevie Ward, he's just here. He has come in today because he's got a fantastic story about his journey. So Steve used to play for Leeds Rhinos. It was one of the most successful rugby league teams. He's the youngest grand final winner ever. He's won 3 grand final winner trophies, 2 challenge cups, but that's not what all he talks about. He's had 10 operations and several concussions, so injury is a big part of Stevie's story. So that's why he's a speaker, a podcaster, presenter, and an actor as well. He talks a lot about mental health in sport, and he set up Mentality, which deals with all the stuff about talking mental health in rugby league. And also he set up for businesses Authenticity Game Plan, which is also about helping people keep authentic when the high pressure is on. So without further ado, I want you to put your hands together for our first speaker, Stevie Ward.
I've been drafted in late, guys, for this, so I don't know what it is for football, but I've been 18th man. You know, when you're in the reserve and you're thinking, I'm not going to play here, I'm not going to play, there's no chance. And then someone says you're playing and you're like, I got pissed last night, what are you about? That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. So, yeah, I wanted to come and talk to you guys about authenticity. And I wanted to put it into a game plan just for you guys, because I know you guys sit down and you look in a meeting room and you watch videos and you think all about game plans. That's how you live your life, right? So within that game plan, what is authenticity, right? What is the game plan towards authenticity? Why do we need it? What stops authenticity happening? And what are the 3 C's? Yeah, right one. What are the 3 C's to get there? What are the 3 C's to get to authenticity? That's the big question. But I, like you guys, turned up to a patch of grass when I was younger, and it was a usual Sunday morning. I could smell bacon sandwiches coming from the touchline. My parents were lining up. Other kids' parents were lining up. And there were kids messing about. There were some kids that couldn't be bothered playing. There were some kids that wanted to play. And for me, it was everything, because I had a dream of becoming, well, the next captain of Leeds Rhinos, the next Kevin Sinfield. That's what I was dubbed to be when I was younger. So I can remember going home in the car rides home after the game, and I'd be sat in the car and I'd be analysing my game, analysing what I'd done well, what tackles I'd missed. If I'd not scored enough tries, it meant that much to me. And people ask me like, oh, when did you decide to play rugby? You know, when did you pick rugby league? And I always sort of feel like rugby chose me, because as soon as I picked up a ball and I ran towards this defensive line of what I believe were big angry men that wanted to grab me, throw me to the ground and flipping jump on top of me, I'd run towards this defensive line, I'd veer towards the right and I'd stamp my right foot down and I'd burst through this line. I'd burst through this defensive line. And I can remember the feeling of arms trailing across my waist, people trying to scrag me back and pull me away from getting through this line. And I remember my weight coming through this defensive line and being in the clear. And I'd put my head back and I'd see this endless sky rolling into the green fields right ahead of me. And I'd put my foot on the gas. And I can remember from the touchline, I can remember it clear as day. My mum calling from the touchline saying, "Go on, Stevie!" And I have one last defender, the fullback, last line of defence between me and the try line. And I'd run up to this defender, not knowing what I was going to do. I'd chip the ball over the top. I'd run round the corner, pick the ball up, and I'd see the try line. And I was in. That was my destination. That's where I was after. I'd jump over the line. I'd skid to a stop. And I'd turn round and I'd look back at my teammates rushing towards me, wide-eyed. And I'd be like, how good is this? If anyone has had that feeling in this room, say aye. Aye, yes, sir. So that was power, you know, that was me fully potential, right? That was me just doing it, not even thinking about it, just doing it. And to go with that, to accompany that, accompanying this feeling of running past through this defensive line, breaking free, I remember getting this like rites of passage, right? We talk about rites of passage for young men. We talk about tests, we talk about proving our toughness, we talk about proving who we are, right? And my coach, my head coach, it gave me like this chance to lead a team, right? And I don't know if what you guys do in football, I don't know if it's the same, but in amateur days, you have this chant and you'd gather everyone round just before you're about to start the game, just before the whistle goes. You'd be in a circle and I got given this chant. I got given the chance to lead this chant to all my teammates. And what I'd do is I'd scream, "Who are we?" And I don't mean the Chinese mobile telephone company. I mean, who are we? All right? And I'd scream it to all my teammates. And they'd reply, "Cherwell." All right? That's the team that we were playing for. All right? That's who we were. Whew, this is a risk now. But I need you guys to go with me. I need you guys to go with me. Right? Can you guess what we're going to do right now? Oh, no. Oh, God. No. We're going to try it. We're going to try it. So everyone stand up. Everyone stand up. Come on, let's do it. Here we go. Right. You're all different teams now. You're all different teams, right? We've got Scunthorpe. I thought you were all basketball players, you're that tall. It turns out you're footballers, right? You're all looking around, you're thinking, what's he going to ask us to do, right? And I get it. Well, you've got to go through it. You've got to do it. So, you guys aren't Cherwell, are you? You guys are Scunthorpe. You guys are Hull. You guys are, can't tell, Sheffield, right? Today, you're more than just your team. You're looking at a life after professional sport. So you guys are laps, right? You guys are laps. Okay? That's what you guys are. So when I say, "Who are we?" you guys say, "Laps." When I say, "Who are we?" you guys say, "Laps," right? When I say, "Who are we?" you guys say, Yes! Right, here we go. You're just going to have to jump into it. And when you look around, you're going to be flipping, buzzing. Trust me, right? Are we good? Are we good? Right, 3, 2, 1. Who are we? Who are we? Who are we? Oh my God, thank you so much. You can sit down now and chill out. The hard work is done. Oh, I feel buzzing. I feel buzzing. There we go. You can have a look now. You can have a look around and be yourself and see what you get excited about and all that. So for me, that patch of grass, that call out to say, right, who are we? Who am I in this position now? I'm going onto this field. We're going to go play rugby league, right? I'm going to go get bashed up. That was the main roll call for us. And it didn't just end on that patch of grass. I had a bit of a meteoric rise. I wanted to, well, I lived my dream, all right? I lived my dream when I should have been probably still dreaming it. As we mentioned in the intro, I became the youngest ever grand final winner here. But I'd made my debut with a pink Mohican. How cool is that? How cool is that? It was to raise money for Sport Relief. And that was my debut. I was still at sixth form whilst playing that game. And then after that, I went to collect my A-level results after juggling full-time training with being a professional athlete, right? Doing my A-levels, making the tough decision to do this while I'm playing, right? A week later, that's me walking around Wembley Stadium after collecting my A-level results, starting at standoff, like fly half in rugby union, one of the main positions on the field. And I'm going, how did this happen, right? How did this happen? We lost that final after walking out in front of a brick wall of noise, in front of 80,000 people. And this chap right here played that game as well. I remember it clearly, Jimmy Kynhorst. We lost that final, but this was at Old Trafford. This was at Old Trafford. After that loss, we'd won. We'd won. And I'd got that silverware that probably everyone in this room is aiming for a version of that. I got it at 18 years old. Did it? I got it. So did anyone know who this chap is? I've gone through the accolades on the pitch, but I also got to bump into royalty, or he was royalty at that time, and shared a bit of bants with him, you know, had a good chat with him. But Prince Harry, he's been in the headlines a lot recently, right? And there's so many opinions knocking about with this guy, right? There's so many opinions in terms of what he's done, if he's done the right thing, if he's done the wrong thing. And these opinions could go on for days, these judgments, right? But can I tell you what I think or what I perceive Prince Harry to be doing right now? I perceive him to be living more authentically. That's what I perceive. So what is authenticity? Why do I think he is living that? Because authenticity isn't about becoming something, right? That you're supposed to be, all right? We all have that option in life to become something we're supposed to be. I think it's about your full self, allowing your full self, everything in you to unfold. That's what I believe, all right? And Prince Harry is someone who is supposed to be a prince. He's supposed to be like this. He's supposed to do this. And I think he's just got to the point where this is too much. I want to do me, all right? That's what I think. That's my perspective. So why is authenticity even important? Why is it good to do that? Why don't we just listen to everything that we're meant to do and to present ourselves to this mold of what we're expected to be? Well, for me, authenticity is the other side of that line that I broke through. It's where creativity comes from. It's where you can feel into ultimate performance on the field, but off the field as well. And I got to a period in my life where I was so successful. I'd won 2 trophies. I'd been dubbed as this player who was going to be the next big thing. And I had all the success. I didn't feel fulfilled, all right? I didn't feel fulfilled. And for me, authenticity aligns fulfillment with success. With authenticity, it's the main way that you connect with people. If you show people your true self, if you break down some barriers and step into who you are, that is the best way to connect with people and make true, strong relationships. The relationships that fuel you outside, but also on the pitch, where you're ready to tackle and make any amount of tackles for your teammates. And leaders need it now. Gone are the days where coaches and leaders, whether it's a CEO, whether it's a head coach, they can say to you men, you must do this, otherwise you're out. Those days have gone. And I was at the end of it. Those days have gone. You have to be able to lead with who you are and show yourself. So what prevents it, right? We all felt it just before when we did that chant, until you all got into a mode where you went, actually, I'm just going to do it. You heard other people doing it. You heard other people shouting from the back corners of the room, so you thought, oh, okay, I'm going to do it. What prevents it? What prevents authenticity? It's fear. It's just simply fear. It's fear of judgment. It's fear of failure. It's fear of you yourself getting shut down and not being good enough. That's what it is. That's what stops it. And I didn't expect to have a mic on me, but imagine this nice, clean, white piece of paper. Imagine that's your life, right? I didn't mention earlier in the story about when I'd broke through that defensive line, I could hear my mum calling out, clear as day, right? I didn't mention why that meant so much to me. But the reason why it meant so much to me was because my mum lived with depression most of her life, and she struggled pretty bad when we were younger, when me and my twin sister were growing up. So I'd come in from school and I'd see my mum and she'd have a bit of a face on. She'd be upset. She'd be angry. And I'm walking in and I'm not knowing how to judge the situation. I'm like second guessing things. I'm sort of walking on eggshells a little bit. And I think the safest thing for you to do as a youngster when you're growing up, instead of thinking that, oh, there's something wrong with my mum, you don't do that. You think, oh, something wrong with me. You think, I'm making my mum upset. That's what you think. So from that sort of expansive experience, going through that line and feeling like everything just clicks, I created my own defensive line within myself, all right? I closed down and created that defensive line, that sort of caution, you know, that like, do I have to adapt to this environment? You know, that question, do I have to change for this? That's what I did. And I remember as a young lad, one of the first things you get taught playing rugby, I don't know what it's like in football, but one of the first things is you can't show your weakness to the other side, all right? That's like rule number one. You can't show yourself to be hurt. So, all right, these emotions are my emotions. They're not all right here, you know? Can't show that. So I'd close again. And that's another defensive line. As I said, I was dubbed as the next Kevin Sinfield. And as I'm going up, I'm getting called Kev. People calling me Kev, 16, 17 years old, because I'm like, oh, you know, and by the time I was training first team, I'm in the first team and people shouting Kev, and I'm like, does he mean me or this other fella, you know? And I changed the way that I played. When I was young, I was like, do I need to play more like Kev? Is that what I need to do? Do they require that from me? You know, that's how things happen. That's how you sort of learn that you're fulfilling your potential. So again, another defensive line. And I closed up a bit, tried to play like that. And we know what it's like. We felt it just now. We felt that environment. You felt that uncomfortable nature of, do I step out of line here? Do I step out of this mould here? Because I could get the bants flying at me, all right? That's how it is. That's just how it is. And I'd feel like that a lot of training. I feel like that a lot of training. I used to love, well, I still do, love Linkin Park, right? Does anyone even, I don't even think anyone knows who Linkin Park is by this point. This fella at the front does, right? I used to love them. I used to go see them live, and I'd feel this emotion. I feel in the moment, I feel so powerful. But it's trivial. It's really trivial. But when you're young and when you're learning, it's what makes sense. Because I'd have banter flying at me because I listen to music where there's a bit of screaming in it. I'm like, oh, close down a little bit. Don't bring Linkin Park into here, right? And then a lot of my career had injuries. injuries throughout it. It was injuries, success, comebacks, injuries again, long stints of rehab. And it was like, how do I manage this situation? How do I manage my emotions here? Because we just learned that I can't show them. I can't feel down, right? It's not acceptable. So again, I can remember dislocating my shoulder and damaging all the nerves down my arm, in pain all the time, in agony with my shoulders all the time. But I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know what to do, and it wasn't acceptable to speak about it at that point. So I'd close down again. Close down. And I want to tell you a little bit of a story that I think encapsulates that. And for me, it got to the point where it became very clear to me. And it was a year actually, 2015. We'd all sat down in a meeting room to win a treble, right? We'd sat down to win 3 trophies, to do the impossible, right? And I was back on form. I was back putting the size on. I wasn't in pain anymore. I was winning the wrestling competitions. Jimmy might be able to back me up on this. But I was challenging. I was competing. I was one of the first names on the team sheet, right? And I'm like, this is it. I've done it. I'm a machine. I'm making 50 tackles a game. I'm carrying the ball 16 times. So that's equivalent of 60-odd car crashes, in rugby league. But it didn't even matter because I was killing it, all right? But on the other side of the spectrum in my life, I was going over to visit my nana every 2 weeks. She had melanoma, so she had skin cancer, right? She had skin cancer. So that means that you have these vicious tumours on your skin, on your body, on your face. And I'd go around and I'd see my nana in this state, and I'd look at these photos of my nana, my granddad, on the cabinet. And that feeling, you've probably had it when you've got a header wrong or a ball's hit you in the face, and you're going, everything in you is like saying, don't cry. Don't cry. And the cancer had progressed alongside me progressing in this year, being this player, being this machine. And we'd won a Challenge Cup at Wembley. We'd beat Hull KR 50-0. And we'd come back up from the celebrations, and I'm like, yes, I'm doing it, it's working. This thing that I'm attaining, this script that I'm living by is working, I've avenged all the stuff that I've felt before. All the depression, all the sadness, all the anxiety that I'd felt. I'm like, I'm winning now. It's all good. We got to the league leaders game, which was the second of 3 trophies that year that we'd set out on vision to do, all right? And it was the morning of my nana's funeral. So I'd go over to my nana's funeral on that morning, and I'd spoke at the funeral, I'd gone to the wake, and then I'd have to come back over the Pennines to Huddersfield, where we'd be playing this game, where it's do or die, basically. If we win this game, we finish top of the table, and we go to the grand final to collect the 3rd. If we lose it, we go down the table into the playoffs, where we have to really fight it to get the third grand final for the 3rd trophy. And I can remember going to the change rooms, and everyone was like depleted, right? Everyone was depleted. They were like physically and mentally hungover from the Challenge Cup, from all the games that we'd had to play after the Challenge Cup up to this point. Everyone was out on the feet. And I remember clear as day, saying to my teammates, at 21 years old, we've got to put our bodies on the line for this one. I remember it. And internally, I'm so driven because I'm like, I'm going to be the best player on this field. I'm going to be the best player on this field. And I'm going to kill it. I'm going to kill it. And the people around me, my team around me, don't know why I'm so driven. I had to keep it all inside. So first 5 minutes, we go out, and it's a shaky game, but we're attacking their line. Kevin Sinfield, funny enough, lofts a ball over to me, and I catch it. I step off my right foot, I cut through the line, jump over the line, and I turn round after putting the ball down. Teammates running over to me, and I'm like, this is it. How good is this? How good is this? It's all going to plan. I scored that, and I'm like celebrating more than ever because I know what it's for. I know the reasons for why I'm so driven. So the game carries on, and there's to and fro in, and it's close, and we're shocking. We're playing shocking as a team. And the last 5 minutes come. We're behind at this point. We're behind in the last 5 minutes. And again, I'm like, I'm taking it. I'm like, give me the ball. Give me the ball. So I grab the ball. Rob Burrow passes me, and it's a nothing pass, right? But again, I put that right foot down. And my knee just collapsed. My knee just went. My ACL went. All the cartilage, my ligaments went around my knee. And next thing I know, I'm on agony on the floor. Never felt pain like it, ever. And the physios are picking me up. And I'm walking off the field. And I'm like, this wasn't in the script, you know. And I remember going into this physio bed. And I was so confused. I'm like, how's that just happened? I'm looking at this inflatable knee on the physio bed, and the next thing I know, there's a few minutes to go, there's seconds to go in the game, I hear the biggest sound, the biggest eruption I've ever heard in my life coming from the stadium. And I'm like, what's going on? The doctor runs in, and he's screaming, Ryan Hall scored, Ryan Hall scored. And I'm like, what? Ryan Hall's our player, he's our best winger. I'm like, there's so many things going through my head, so many emotions, I don't even know how to feel, right? I've never felt like that before. And I'm thinking a few things. First, I'm like, all right, that means we can win the treble still. Second, I'm like, I'm going to make a lot more money, right, on bonuses. And third, I'm like, well, what about me? What about me? Because I'm sat there and I'm like, this is at least 9 months out of the game. And for me, that's when I could feel that fold. I could feel it. I could feel the tension. Because that's what I was. I went from being this wide, expansive person, this wide, expansive player, and I had the success, but I was doing it as this version, this robot, this tightened up version of myself. And I was like, I need to do something different here. I need to do something different. And for me, that's when game plans changed for me in my mind and in my life. That's why I had to pick up another game plan. I just had to do it. And this is how I think about it. The authenticity game plan. Because what we want, what people want from us, what we want from ourselves truly, is that authenticity. That's what we want. The freedom, the expression, the creativity, the safety, right? And why does it apply to you guys, right? It applies because if you want to win, if you want to push yourself to be the best, authenticity will be the thing that fuels you all the time, be the thing that fuels you in finals, and be the thing that fuels you to make the extra tackle or to score the extra goal. And for today, it applies because after sport, during sport, when you're looking into other stuff, you need the ability to connect with people. You need the ability to be vulnerable. You need the ability to break through those defensive lines that we create in ourselves, in sport, growing up. That's what you need the ability for. So what do we need to get to authenticity, to that place? Well, we need the 3 C's. We need the 3 C's. And these 3 C's come from the polyvagal theory, where it talks about the nervous system as human beings is dictating whether we feel safe or whether we feel fear, right? And the thing to eradicate that fear, the thing to go through that defensive line and push through to the other side is those 3 C's. That's what we need. So after that game, about 7-8 months after that game, I decided to do something different. I decided to launch Mentality. And Mentality started as an online magazine. It progressed into podcasts, it's progressed into retreats, a counselling service. And it's been this mission, really, where I've said, look, we all feel rubbish sometimes. We all feel rubbish when we're not playing. We sometimes feel rubbish when we are playing, right? What are we going to do about it? So I set a different context. I put something out there to set a context and start a conversation around it. Start a conversation around mental health, around how we feel as men. So that changed the environment for what was possible. And on the other side of that is true connection. It's true connection. We'd gone to a pre-season camp in 2017, and usually we would go off to Florida or we'd go to Portugal or somewhere sunny. But because we'd been that terrible the year before, we went to North Yorkshire, right? And we spent about 3 days in North Yorkshire. And I remember it because we got hurdled into this meeting room, this big sort of living room, this youth hostel. And the fire was roaring. The fire was absolutely roaring. But how many? 8 people got asked to come up and speak in front of the full team, the full players, which is scarier to do that when you're speaking to your own teammates. I'm sure you'll understand. And you know what 8 of those guys got up to speak about? The tough side of life. The tough side of life. The losing. The losing on the field. The losing with the injuries. The losing with the relationships. That's what they got to speak up about. And all of a sudden, you just feel the room growing. Like, oh, this is powerful. You just feel it growing. And from that year, there was big lessons because this is another moment. It's like almost copycat of the moment that happened a few years before. And this is me in 2017 in the semi-final. I scored in the first 5 minutes. 5 minutes before the end, my shoulder just dislocated. My shoulder came out. And I'm walking off this field and I'm like bottom of the barrel. I'm like bottom of the barrel. And I'm like, all right, everything that I've been doing, everything that I've been trying to get more resilient, everything that I've been doing to try and feel more fulfilled, to perform better, to not get injured, it's not worked. It's not worked. And I'd gone to the hospital because they couldn't put my shoulder back in. They couldn't put my shoulder back in at the ground. And they'd give me enough morphine to knock out a bull, apparently. And I'm still writhing around in agony. It was killing me. It was absolutely killing me. And they came up and said to me, look, we can't put your shoulder back in now. You'll have to wait till the morning. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I don't even know if I can get through this night because it was that much pain. Anyway, I get through this night, up all night, and they put me back to sleep. They put my shoulder back in, and they knit it together. So I go home after this, and I spend the weekend feeling sorry for myself. I not even looked at my phone, right? I was just like, I was sick of people feeling sorry for me. I was sick of me feeling sorry for myself. I was just like, what do I do here? What can I do here? And it took a couple of days of feeling that and sitting with it. It got to a point where I picked up my phone, and on all these texts, right? And the ones that I went straight for were my teammates. And a few teammates text me saying, how you doing, mate? We'll make your tackles for you. And I'm like, and then he's like, they've got another teammate saying, you've always had sore shoulders, mate, haven't you? I'm like, yeah, that's true. And at this point where literally I had nothing, right? I was looking at my phone, and I'm thinking back to when I played as a youngster, right? I'm thinking back to when I played as a youngster. And there was a game that I thought about where I'd ruptured my AC joint, so I'd popped the top part of my shoulder out at school playing Bulldogs. And I'd gone to hospital, got it all sorted out. And 3 weeks later, because my team, Cherwell Chiefs, were playing against Featherstone Lions, a team that we were going to get smashed by, I was like, you know what? I can't let this team get beat by as much. I need to play. So I put bubble wrap on my shoulder, and I put these massive pads on. And I'm thinking back, I'm like, if there's ever going to be a game that I don't miss because I've got sore shoulders, it's not going to be this grand final. It's not going to be this grand final against a team that has beat us 6 times in a row. And we went into, I'd made the choice to play, and everyone had written me off. It was amazing. Everyone had written me off. And we got to the Saturday, the teams had been released, and everyone was like, what's going on? And the night before the final, we'd gone into a meeting room, and similar to the start of that year, right? Similar to the start of that year in pre-season, where we all got into a room and we got asked to speak. The coach came in and he said, I don't have anything for you. I don't have anything for you. He said, it's got to come from this room. And then one by one, and I'm sure you'll have heard about Rob Burrow. This was his last grand final. He stood up and said, this is why I want to win this game. He spoke about everything in his life. That's why this game means so much to me. Danny Maguire stood up. I stood up and spoke about what's just gone on for me and why this game means so much. Every player got up and spoke. And when we left that room, we knew we were going to win. We were going to beat a team that we'd not beat for 2 years. And that's how I felt. That's how I felt. You know, that's how I felt at the end of this game where we'd beat Cass. I'd played the full game. I'd made the most tackles on a dodgy shoulder. And the reason I'm saying that is because I made a choice. I made a choice. I didn't feel pressured to play. I didn't feel fearful. I felt like I had my context. I had my connection. And I could make a choice. So if you want authenticity, you need to be able to feel that. You need to be able to go through your own defensive lines that you create in your life that protect you, that get you to a good place. But the true joy, the true performance, and the true ability to connect is when you have a team around you, people around you, whether it's a football team, whether it's a business, whether it's a leader, that allows you to open back up and be that full self. Thanks very much.
A little bit. If anyone wants to ask Stevie any questions, he'll be around for a little bit, so do go and ask him. And hopefully you got the main message there that, you know, we're not robots, okay, athletes. We've got enough wisdom here between quite a few people around the room to just tell you that, you know, while things are going to happen, sport is an emotional, physical and mental roller coaster, but we're here to help that journey be as good as possible.